welcome back. We're still working at Gus's today, but now we're going to get down to the meat and potatoes of it. In order to figure out what you got to have or what you don't have, you have to measure your things up, and you have to know what size your pistons are. You need to know what size the holes are. You need to know approximately what size a new oversized piston will be if you bore the cylinder out. But first off, we'd like to see where we're going with it. What we're going to do now is go along and peel one of the cylinders off, probably pull them off, and then we'll see where we're at. I expected them to be on there hard. They just came off a little bit better than finger tight there. Well, they would have leaked before long. The bottom of these cylinders are these little triangular brackets. Most of the time they have something marked on them out. It's really hard to see on these ones, but not to be forgotten, as they go down below the bolt, and that one is still stuck in place there. There we go. Hold that up while we get the nut off. Plate. Big giveaway on the 80 inches, the triangle plates. The 74s didn't use them. There. Alright. Just need to rock it a little bit, make sure the piston's down at the bottom, that's where we want it. Just try to walk it up. Just easy. Now the bolt will fall out in your hand there. Remember, these two have to go in first. Now's a good time when we can have a good look at these pistons and determine what was going on in there. Our front ring gap is up here, and the secondary gap is back here. So they're separated. So we'll have a look at the piston itself, and it doesn't look too bad other than the buildup up on the top. Bit of wear on the front, but that's normal. And the only factor against it, so to speak, is the positioning of the rings in it. Second ring's okay, but the first ring is dead in the front, wide open in the front, and that shouldn't be. But other than that, doesn't look too bad. Let's see about getting it off. The rear one. And then we can have a look inside, down into the rods. Try not to drop things down in the motor. Damn. Looks like the stud's coming out with this one. Happens once in a while. Makes her a little bit more of a pain. Get it out somehow. I knew by the feels of it when I started to take it out that it was hard. Somebody may have put red Loctite on it, and now she's stuck to the stud. That'll be a fun thing to get off. Now I'm going to have to get it up a little ways before I can get the stud out the rest of the way. Just going to stick that down in there, because that one's going to give us a little bit of trouble there, so I want to make sure that it doesn't go down inside. Nothing falls inside. All right. Okay, bolt comes out. And look at that. That's the rear head bolt. Oh yeah, okay, we're gonna work that nut. This bolt on the other side. The stud don't want to come out. There we go. So this one here looks a little better. But what we see is the top ring is right there off to the side as it should be, and the bottom ring is right here as well. So as I was saying, when I pulled these cylinders off, the front one didn't look too bad. The rear one, I could feel scuffs and marks in it, and I knew that something was wrong there. But I wasn't sure. Now that we've pulled the piston, pulled the cylinder off, we can see exactly that the whole back of the piston is scuffed off here. And that's deep stuff. That's deep stuff in there. So you're definitely going to need a piston. Almost as though, well, the bottom ring is free, but that's definitely done. So, new set of pistons is in order for it. It'll be up to him to see what he'd like to put in it. Now, if he wants to put a set of Wiseco's in and a good cam and perk this thing up, we can make her work, you know, but that's up to the customer's choice as to which way he wants to go. But in any case, we need pistons now. So, just before we button things up for the day, I just want to have a feel down in there and see what the bottom end is like. So we're trying to feel the rods for movement this way. Yeah, should be rocking, man. S&S bottom end with S&S rods in it. It's not too bad up and down. But there's a lot of side to side play. I think 25 thou on the specs on some of those side to sides. I have to look them up, but. I could just get a 30 in there, just. So the side to side play is pretty good on it. Bottom end, well, we have to fix all those other issues with it. And I would just as soon take it apart. So judging by what I've seen in there today, we know we're in for a new set of pistons. The cylinders, we'll double check them to see where they're at, to see if we can get away with re-ringing them. I haven't measured the pistons, I probably should have done that. And then we'll know where we're going. What we have to do is go to an oversized piston, so we're going to have to clean the cylinders up to the next size bore anyway, and then we'll know that everything is good. The bottom end has got quite a bit of play in it. It's okay side to side, but I can rock those things back and forth a bit, and I think at this point of the game we should split the bottom end, because I also have to deal with all the holes in the cases and such. So that's going to be about it for today for this old shovel. And we'll get back to you with more once we get where we want to be. We're gonna have a talk with Gus. He's gonna come up and see me, and we're gonna look some things over and get his thoughts on things and where he wants to go and how far he wants to go with it. And we'll keep you informed as to what's going on with that. But now we got a good idea where we're at. So the heads need to be done, cylinders need to be done, cases need to be fixed, and the bottom end should be done. In my humble opinion. First off, we'd like to see where we're going with it. And now that we've got the cylinders off, we're going to start by measuring the cylinders and the pistons themselves to get a little more accurate idea. So we're going to start by trying to get a measurement off our pistons. And you measure across, not the way that the pin is, you measure across the other way. And even though this is scuffed up there a bit, I want to try and get a measurement. Give me an idea of where I'm going or what was in here. The amount of oil and stuff going by. I can see we're like 513 thousandths of an inch on that one. We'll go around and do the front. Yeah, 513. Just turn it up here. Not the right spot to measure, but I'm curious. 513. So what I'm seeing here measuring the pistons is I'm coming out at 3.513. 10 thou over, of course, wouldn't be quite that much, so it's sort of in an odd spot. It is scuffed down there, but both pistons are the same. In any case, at 513, 40, 50, 60, 17, we're over 4 thou clearance there. I'm going to double check the cylinders and see what we got, and we'll take it from there. So I've got the cylinder out and we've got it on the bench. Gives us a nice platform to work with and be able to measure nicely with it. So I'm going to take some quick measurements with it, and this is the rear cylinder and the way it's set on there. Put the cutout in the front here, so this is the way it would go on the bike. So our wear pattern would be from front to rear, I would expect. So we're just going to take a couple quick soda measurements. 16, 17, I get 18 and a half there. Where the rings come up to the top. We're close to it. 17. Right, this way we give you. Yeah, I'll get 18 across there. So whether I'm on the part that's galled up the other way. Almost 18 there. And she was scuffing at the bottom. Yeah, 18 there. And 18 there. So, 0, it's looking like we've got about 5 thousandths clearance on that cylinder alone. So let's do the front. So now we have the front cylinder, and we're going to take some quick measurements off of that. Again, if we want to see which way it goes on, your cutout, little cutout at the bottom here is in the middle of the V. So this is the front here. So we want it. Oh, my boy Norman's. He's missing his mom's gone out. It's a sad story. 18 on that as well. So we're getting the same kind of clearance in there. Oh, it's a sad story with mom gone. Norman, little buddy. It's all right. She'll be back. And 18 thou on that. So now we can tell that they're both the same. The cylinders, for all intents and purposes, have been bored straight or worn straight. There are scuff marks in them and such. But they're at, 518 thou, which is an odd size. But you always have to go by the size of the pistons you get. And I always say you can't guess at the pistons because they could be vastly different in size in thousandths of an inch. So seeing as my numbers are so odd that they're not on a 10 thou or even a 20 thou mark, I struck it kind of strange in my mind. So I thought, hey, you better check your stuff and make sure it's accurate. So what we've done is we have this little test bar in here. It's a sort of a little awl, and it comes with your kit of your micrometers. And what it is an accurate measurement to set your micrometers on. So if I set this just as if I was measuring something, and I make sure that I'm squared up good. It's hard holding it up in the air like this. Very hard. But I should be able to look at it, and my micrometer should be sitting in the 0 range there. So I know my micrometer is accurate. And thus far then, I know my measurements are accurate. So we've got over 5 thou, as I said, 513 on the pistons. Got over 5 thou clearance on both of them. So we'll have to do something with that, that's for sure. I mean, 0.498 plus 0.02, 18 thou, I'm measuring 17, I wouldn't have a thousandth of an inch. Again, it would depend on the pistons, and I can't always count on the pistons for the piston size. I've done that before and it's not worked out for me. So, according to the specs, a 20 thou piston should set me at 518, 3 inch, 518 thou. If that was the true case, I could put a 20 thou in her and have my clearance and be able to bore it out and get my clearance as well. Maybe take the scuffs out of it, I could try it with that intention, but as I say, I like to have the pistons with me to make sure. Now, just to make a point, and like I say, my micrometer is accurate, so we know that. So I've dug out some pistons here. I have some 30 thou over Shovelhead pistons, low compression. I expect like 8-to-1 on these, and I measured them across there. I'm coming up almost dead on the zero here, very close, which is telling me that this piston is 3" 525 thousandths of an inch. If I do the calculations at 3.498 for a piston plus 0.03 for 30 thousandths of an inch, it should be 528. 528. I'm getting 525. So if I did my calculations and I bored my cylinders out, said, oh well, my piston's coming, you know, they're going to be 528, and I need another thou and a half for clearance on these, you know, so I'm 29 and a half, 30. Then your pistons come and you find out, such as the example I have here, they're only 525. So 26 and a half should be where, you know, 26 and a half about should be where you're at. And now you've bored your pistons out, the larger side, they're bored your cylinders out to 529 and a half instead of 26 and a half, 26, 27, 28, 29. Almost 3 thousandths of an inch. And that could be very well what happened with this. I guess someone just bored it on specs, it threw the pistons in it, said that'll do it, and it didn't. But we'll fix that. So as you look farther down it, you start to see different things in it, and there's spots all over the cylinder up in there, which tells me that this has just been sitting for a long time, and rust has built up in there and not done it any good at all. Now you can see at the bottom of it where it's all scun up. This is actually where all the scuffing on the piston that you see is here. All this scuffing in there. And as you go up higher, so you can see that whole scratch mark all the way up and down. And that's scored in, you could feel that with your fingers. So another thing that I just wanted to point out while I'm taking this apart, and you could see the oil all around here. Here's the oil hole, and you can see how it's been leaking all around here. The other one was really quite a lot. And even with the gasket off, you can see the discoloration here where the oil has traveled. So with the obvious leaking and stuff around here, one of the things I see right off is that this is not a fire ring gasket. And what I mean by a fire ring gasket, it's this kind of gasket. And this gasket has a steel ring all the way around it. So when it goes on, and the cylinder goes on it, this ring gets crushed down between the head and the cylinder, and it helps to eliminate this exact kind of problem. As you can see, this is just what they call the blue Teflon gaskets, and everything being where they should be, they will seal up. I've used them in the past without problems in years gone by. They're not quite as thick even as they used to be when they first came out, but again you can see there's no fire ring in here at all. But after many different years of use and seeing many different things, I only put one in with a fire ring now. So for me to show you here, it's obvious to see that a little bit of movement and the oil is going to get into that chamber. With the fire ring, it's not impossible, but it's almost impossible unless you have a big problem. So when you're thinking about gaskets to get for your ride and you're taking it apart and you go, man, those are a lot cheaper, well, you get what you pay for today, especially today. You can use these cheap kind of no-name ones, and although this one, they do have sort of a little silicone seal around them, the gasket itself is not much. And these little base gaskets, which are just a sort of light cardboard, I'm not a real big proponent on those. I always use a brand name gaskets of some sort, Comtech or S&S. Ones here, James, of course, I'm a big proponent of James gaskets. I like the James stuff. These all work well. So they all have pros and cons, but when you get used to working with a certain kind of thing and it works well for you, why change? So I will be putting James firing head gaskets into this bike for my own safety. It's a point that I usually don't argue about with customers. I tell them I'm going to put the good stuff in. It's going to cost what it's going to cost. We don't want any problems down the road. They usually agree with that, and we go that route and everything's well. So don't scrimp on your gaskets. Don't scrimp on it. Don't scrimp on your gaskets. Buy good quality gaskets. James, something like that, Comtech, they're all good. But the aftermarket ones, and some of them you just buy from the aftermarket distributors for, listen, cheap gaskets. Well, that's what you're gonna get, it's cheap gaskets. Save yourself some work, spend the money here, don't spend it later on down the road. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do those things. I know I say the same thing each time, but that's the only way an old guy like me can remember it if I relate it each time like that. But I appreciate all the support. I hope you stick with us, and we're trying to make our channel grow. We're trying to put out things that you want to see. Give us some comments there. Let us know, what are you liking to see from our channel? So stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. For now, let's go.